Are you thinking about moving to Westwood, Massachusetts? I've been a resident of Metro West of Boston my whole life and know the ins and outs of all the towns in Greater Boston and what you need to consider before moving here. So in this video, we're going to talk about real estate, our favorite subject.
Absolutely.
Things to do, schools, and more. So we hope you enjoy. I'm Jane. I'm a realtor based in Wellesley, Massachusetts.
And I'm Dee Dee. I'm also a realtor and I work for Jane on her team.
And our channel's all about what you need to know to help you make informed decisions about relocating to Greater Boston. So please subscribe. And if you are thinking about moving here, please reach out as we would love to help you.
We'd love it. Yes, for sure.
So today we're going to talk about a terrific town that sometimes gets passed over in the first round of people coming from other parts of the country. It's a town called Westwood, which we really love. It's got a population of about 16,000, super convenient to Boston, and of course, excellent public schools. So first, let's take a look at where it is. It's just about 22 minutes driving south of Boston proper without traffic. The schools have an A+ rating from niche.com.
And that's pretty much through all the grades as well, not just the high school, for example. The entire system is known to be outstanding.
So we always also reference the Boston Magazine list because it's fun to see how those top schools rank when you're comparing them to each other. But Dee Dee and I firmly believe that the top 30-ish schools are strong enough that your kids are going to get a great education and you're going to have a good experience in any of these communities. So that said, Westwood is ranked, the last time we looked at Boston Magazine, 31. An excellent system.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people that we help in Westwood, that's a primary concern. So sometimes what we find is that that town is not necessarily as known as some others, like Wellesley or just different towns that people have heard of a little bit more. And oftentimes we'll end up taking them to Westwood because there's so many complementary benefits that they are looking for in towns like Wellesley that actually exist exactly the same in Westwood.
One of the things that appeals to people relocating to our area is, of course, we always talk about the green space or what these towns have to offer. They're all beautiful. And one of the most exceptional green spaces in Westwood is called Hale Reservation, which is huge. Now, interestingly, the Wellesley Middle School does a trip every year in the spring. They do a 3-day event where they do orienteering and some fun recreational activities, and they go to Hale Reservation in Westwood. It's just 20 minutes away.
And my daughter actually did that when she was at Wellesley Middle School.
Oh, nice. And my kids did too about 10 years ago.
You know what? It is another fun thing that they do in Westwood, Jane. They have this thing, and a lot of towns up here do, like we have Wellesley Days, etc. But Westwood has Westwood Days, and it's in mid-September, which is a great time of year around here. Everybody loves the fall season that's coming in. People get a little excited about all that. And so they have this event at Westwood High School. It's a really big vendor event, so it's really fun to go and see the crafts and things like that. They have music and entertainment, just something very wholesome and family-oriented. Very New England, I would say.
That is very typical New England. Westwood also has the Route 128 train station, which is where we go to catch the Amtrak to New York City. That's where my daughter commutes back and forth from Brooklyn. And it also has very frequent trains to Boston, downtown Boston. So a lot of people from Westwood or the surrounding towns will actually park at the big garage there, and it runs much more frequently than it does from Wellesley, for example. And it's called Route 128, but it's the Amtrak station. And Route 128 is actually the original technology belt that was built around Boston. You might not know this because it was before our time. So like old timers will sometimes refer to 95 as 128, which might be a little confusing. And it's a little confusing. The train station is called Route 128, but they basically when they built 95, they basically did it right over 128. So it's the same. But 128 just vanishes around Braintree and north. I don't even know where it vanishes, but that was my fun fact. We're also going to talk about Legacy Place, which is a phenomenal newer outdoor mall.
Yes.
What's your favorite store at Legacy?
I would say, actually, they have a wonderful coffee shop there. You know how big I am on coffee. So there's a Cafe Nero there that has a wonderful environment if you want to just go sit, read a book or what have you. But as far as shopping goes, There's actually a store there that my daughter got me turned on to, believe it or not. It's called Aerie. And they have some really cute vests and things like that in there. I like that store a lot. But I also love the Whole Foods.
Yes, there's a great Whole Foods. There's also a very big LL Bean. So that's where the Neilsons spend the most time, because it's the only place my husband shops for clothes, despite my best efforts. So,
and I must admit, we're at Costco quite a lot, which is right next to
right behind it. Yes.
And the movie theater there is excellent.
Yes.
Movie theater. There's a bowling alley with a ton of things that you can do in the winter, especially people like to go in there.
Mm-hmm. It's it seems to be busy year round, but it is a great place to do your holiday shopping, or just great place to drop off your teenager to hang out, or middle schooler to hang out with the kids, because you feel like it's a safe enough environment. But they can pop into all those kitty
and they
stores.
have those beautiful decorations. There's lights, strings of lights that hang over it. They have that one green space that they put in recently with picnic tables and different chairs and things. So it really is, I think, it's a higher end type of outdoor mall.
Definitely. And Westwood also has a mixed-use commercial area that is built up around the train station. So you'll see a lot of newer apartments. So as Dee Dee pointed out, if you're coming here and you want a short-term rental, or maybe you're renting for a year, sometimes Westwood is a place that we recommend, because the apartments are newer and they're quite nice.
You get a little more for your money than you would in the Back Bay, for example. Yes. When I lived in the Back Bay, in fact, Jane, I knew a lot of people who did not have cars in the city. I used to, being from the South, I couldn't fathom that you could get around without a car. And what they would do is they would subscribe to almost a membership where they could pick up a car if they needed one.
It was Zipcar.
Zipcar. Yes, thank you. I couldn't remember. But yes, Zipcar. But that plus this intricate train system to get from Back Bay straight into 128 was just super convenient, and very much so for people like we were talking about that might want to live somewhere for a year. Some of our clients, instead of just moving and going right into a house, they want to experience the area for a year before they decide and land on the town. And that is a really great place that we recommend, because it's sort of central, and you can get around everything into the city, etc., or down to New York, like you said, which is also quite nice.
So we're now going to take a tour of some recent home sales from 2024. So we thought it'd be fun to take a look at the least expensive home, the most expensive home, and a median priced home that sold in 2024 in Westwood. And fun fact, Dee Dee and I sold the middle priced one, which you'll see. But the first house we're going to take a look at is 14 Burgess Ave, which was on for $539,900 and actually sold for $500,000. So even in a super hot year, not everything sells right away. So this was an estate. It was obviously not in great shape. So we're going to take a look at some pics to give you some idea. But as you can see, this is like a quintessential little New England home on a small lot, little garden on the side. You can see some flowers. Kitchen is fine, but to think that you can get into a really nice town close to Boston for under $500,000 in 2024 is pretty impressive.
Yeah. And, a lot of our clients, depending on their family size or their situation with work or what have you, some of them don't want to do work. But we also have a large, group of people too that are looking to get into their first home, to establish themselves with their families. Houses like this one are tremendous because they can just do a little bit of cosmetic depending on what it needs, and get their footprint in a great town with a great return, hopefully, for when they're ready to, to upgrade a little.
And we talk about the shiny penny that everyone goes nuts for, that's all spruced up and beige and gray, and this is not a shiny penny. So let me see if we can get a good non-shiny penny. Okay, these pictures were not helping.
Wow.
I'm going
to blame the realtor necessarily.
Yeah, we don't post pictures with sleeping bags on a bare mattress and clothes on
people's clothes. Bless their heart. Well,
And a coat of paint on the door
wouldn't have killed somebody.
Wouldn't have hurt.
Wouldn't have killed somebody.
So we can see how this was not very well marketed, and but it did sell. Sold for $500,000 in September.
Yeah.
The next house we're going to show you was on for $915,000, and this was when Dee Dee and I represented the buyer, and we actually got it for $910,000. What did we think of this house, Dee Dee?
Oh, listen, this house is absolutely adorable. It is completely opposite from the other, although this was also an estate. That's important to mention. This family were meticulous. They had lived in this house for 40 some years, and the husband was an engineer, which is easy to see in the way that he kept the home. Absolutely adorable. And interestingly, also, these clients had moved from California. The gentleman was in the military, went to West Point, just a very distinguished serviceman that we're grateful for, of course. And they instantly were renting on this street.
On the same street, yes.
And we looked with them for quite a long time, which is our pleasure to do. It's a big decision. And then I'll be darned if this didn't come on. It was priced a little bit north of what they wanted to do. But when we went in it, it was just, you know what, no work necessary. And they were able to make it work. And we also, I want to point this out, got this with an inspection. Sometimes you're going to hear agents that tell you that something you need to waive. Jane and I are not those agents. We typically really strongly encourage, while it's always our client's decision, because there is a way to do it strategically and still, you know, get the home. And we always like to say we wouldn't help you buy a car that we didn't lift the hood up and look at the engine, right? So this home was inspected. It was in pristine shape, and just the pictures will never do it justice. It's just adorable.
Yeah, so this was a beautiful room off the back of the house. And what I thought was super cool about it also was the garage in the back. So I'm just going to hop on through. Yeah, look at this cool old fireplace, the wooden beams. Charm. So 3 beds, 2 full baths, a decent sized yard on a very quiet street. Basement was finished.
And a really full laundry room down there, which was really kind of nice as well.
Yeah, hold on. Here we go. Okay, so the garage is fairly far back from the house, but you can see there's a terrific backyard.
Yes.
And it had this, Mr. Engineer had kind of made it into, I guess they didn't really photograph it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Too good. They had like a workman's workroom attached to the garage. So you could totally have converted it into a man cave, you know, an office, an ADU now, which we can talk about in another video. Accessory dwelling unit has been approved in a lot of these towns. We felt like this was a great value.
And it was so adorable, that little building that you're talking about. Remember, it had the flower boxes on the windows, and it just looked like a charming little cottage back there.
Super nice character. So Westwood, like many of our towns, has a wide range of price ranges. The most expensive home that sold in 2024 was 7 Longmeadow Drive. I have to confess, I didn't have anybody looking in the 4s, but it was on for $4.350 and it sold for just over $4 million. Now, this isn't a good thing, a way to give a difference from buying in like Wellesley or Weston. For $4 million in Westwood, they got over 2 acres of land.
Exactly.
So that's very rare in some of the other towns that we have covered. So it's a 5-bedroom colonial in this highly desirable area called Stevens Farm, which is, and as you can see, gracious, elegant. The stonework is fantastic.
It really is. You know what hit me too, Jane? I realized is that all 3 of our examples, we were able to get ours under asking. The other 2 also sold under asking,
which it's curious.
It's curious. It's not common, so I wanted to point that out. That everybody didn't think we're going to get them under asking,
right? But on the flip side, if you're watching and you're despairing of finding something that you can afford, we will figure it out for you. We will figure out the community that meets your needs and can meet the price point that you also are looking for. So we'll just take a quick stroll through this beautiful $4 million home.
And Jane, this was a newer development, sort of. It reminded me a lot of Dover, this part of Westwood.
Yes, there's it's also Westwood borders Dover, and it has a beautiful country club, a couple country clubs that you can join. But this house was quite elegant and gracious.
Obviously moved right in.
Obviously. For $4 million, one would hope.
Certainly opposite of our fixer-upper to get your foot in the door on the $500,000 side.
Exactly. So, you could pool with 10 of your closest friends and you could all move into it.
That's right. I have enough bedrooms for everybody. You know what, Jane? The one thing I think that Jane and I really like about Westwood is, while there's some towns which they're absolutely gorgeous, like Dover, everything is going to be a big lot, right? Like 3-4 acres. Dover is very equestrian, a lot of horse riders, that kind of thing in Dover. And a pretty consistent price point. It's really hard to, find quote unquote an entry level, right? In a Dover.
It'd be 1.5.
Yeah. Whereas in Westwood, what I like so much about it is that it still can, hold that really nice $4 million home. But then all the other neighborhoods for that entry level, et cetera, it's just a really wide variety. And so sometimes people hear a town and they think, it'll be too expensive. Something like Westwood really has something to offer, different price points. You have to be clever about how you track those and how we approach that, but there's usually something for everybody.
Yeah, and pay attention to the proximity to highways, because it's convenient, because it's on 95, it's on the train line, and it's also Route 1, which is a pretty busy commercial thoroughfare where we all go to buy. All the car dealers around Route 1. Sometimes these nice neighborhoods will have, be closer back up to the louder streets. So sometimes that's not acceptable to people, but sometimes it keeps the prices down. But that house on Hawthorne had the best of both. It was in the 900s. It was quiet street, And a super cute house.
Yeah, and tucked back in there.
Yeah.
Private. Yeah.
So if you are thinking about moving to Westwood or the surrounding areas, please reach out. I put out lots of videos on different parts of Metro West, so check them out and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you as always for watching, and we will see you in the next video.
Thank you.